Thank you so much for choosing to watch my story.
Lena woke up that morning feeling vibrant and energetic. She picked up her wooden mirror and stared at her reflection, but what she saw made her cringe. Quickly putting down the mirror, she carried her freshly made noodles to the village market. For sale, as usual. Before she even arrived, hungry customers were already lined up. Mothers waited eagerly to buy the noodles for their children, who would go to bed hungry without them. Lena's noodles were second to none. They had a taste that drew people like magic, and the aroma could be smelled from miles away. Her noodles were like breakfast for the entire village, and anyone who went a day without them felt unfulfilled. However, behind the delicious meal, an irresistible aroma that captivated the village, a dark secret lay hidden, one waiting to be uncovered. Lena's noodles were not ordinary. They contained a special ingredient unknown to the villagers, who licked their plates clean without a second thought. She always prepared them at night when everyone was asleep, the perfect time for her to perform her rituals without anyone suspecting or seeing her. As she stirred the noodles on the fire, she would add worms collected from dead bodies and animals. These worms, laced with her dark magic, made her noodles so tasty and irresistible. However, they were highly poisonous. Each time a customer swallowed a worm, it would begin eating away at their intestines, slowly draining their strength and vitality. The worms didn't kill them, but made them grow older and weaker. Little children who ate the noodles aged faster than normal, becoming more rebellious toward their parents while showing complete obedience to Lena. Whenever a child misbehaved, their parents would threaten to report them to Lena, and immediately, the children would correct their behavior. Yet, no one questioned why their children feared only her. Lena continued selling her noodles to the villagers while establishing several other businesses in the village. In no time, she became a beloved figure in the community. The more wealth she acquired, the weaker the villagers became, but no one suspected anything. Instead, they flocked to her shop every day, desperate to eat her noodles. Things continued this way until a strong-willed widow named Mara began to suspect that something was terribly wrong in the village. She was a hard-working woman, and ever since her husband passed, she had taken on both the role of mother and father to her 3 children. Mara was very principled and never ate outside, unlike the other villagers. In fact, she always warned her children never to buy food from others, encouraging them to cherish homemade meals. Determined to uncover the truth, Mara took it upon herself to investigate. She noticed that instead of going to the farms, villagers would sit at Lena's shop from morning till night, eating her noodles. She suspected that the problem had something to do with Lena's food and decided to conduct an investigation. The next day, Mara went straight to Lena's shop to buy a plate of noodles. But to her surprise, Lena refused to sell to her, said it's finished. What part of that don't you understand? This batch is specially reserved for my top customers. Lena snapped at her. Mara didn't argue. She simply turned and walked away. But deep inside, she knew that Lena sensed something different about her. That's why she had refused to sell to her. However, Mara was determined to uncover the truth. Months passed as Lena continued plaguing the village with her sinister noodles. Finally, Mara decided it was time to put an end to it. That night, she waited until Lena was done selling and carefully followed her home. Hiding in the bushes, she waited until midnight, the perfect time when dark rituals were often performed. Mara had learned about spiritual practices from her late husband, who had been the village herbalist, so she was already familiar with the activities of those who dabbled in dark arts. At exactly midnight, she saw Lena sneaking out of her house, carrying a black nylon bag. Mara waited until Lena had gone a good distance before following her. Lena ventured deep into a thick forest, a place where dead bodies and animals were often discarded. Mara watched in horror as Lena scooped worms into her black nylon bag. The sight was sickening. Some of the worms were already decayed and emitted a foul stench. After gathering enough, Lena headed back to her house, completely unaware that Mara had been watching her every move. Determined to confirm her worst fears, Mara followed Lena home that night, hiding near her window to observe her through a small opening. Lena poured the worms into a small calabash and sprinkled a special oil over them. removing their putrid smell. Then, she poured them into the pot of noodles cooking over the fire and stirred them thoroughly. Mara couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Her stomach churned with disgust, but she held herself back, careful not to make a sound. Mara rushed back home that night, but sleep eluded her. The horrifying sight she had witnessed replayed in her mind, filling her with fear. She spent the entire night thinking of a way to free the villagers from the spell Lena had cast on them. However, she knew exposing Lena wouldn't be easy. The villagers were already under her control. The next morning, Mara decided to visit her late husband's friend, Darren. Darren was a very wise man who never ate outside. Unlike his wife and children, he had warned them multiple times to stop buying food from Lena after having a terrible dream about her. "Welcome, my child. What brings you here this morning?" Darren said, handing Mara a chair to sit. "Darren, my heart is heavy. We are in deep trouble. Our village is in grave danger," Mara said. "What is the problem? Speak, so I can understand. How is this village in trouble?" Darren asked. Mara narrated everything she had witnessed, and Darren was both shocked and terrified. "No wonder I had that dream about her. I should have known this woman was evil. We must act quickly because, as we speak, the chief is about to make her his third wife. If that happens, we are doomed," Darren exclaimed. "But why is she doing all this? What does she stand to gain?" Mara asked. "My dear, I not know. That is why we must expose her immediately." That night, Darren gathered his most trusted friends from the community and took them to Lena's house. Together, they witnessed firsthand what Lena had been feeding the village. They left quietly, returning home to plan how to expose her. The next morning, at the first crow of the rooster, Darren and 3 other men in the village marched straight to Lena's shop. By the time they arrived, a long queue of customers was already waiting to buy her noodles. Darren shouted, "Do you people know what you are eating?" All eyes turned to him, and Lena's heart pounded in fear. She immediately knew her secret had been uncovered. In a panic, she hurriedly closed her stall and tried to escape, but the men caught her and tied her up with a rope. Mara stepped forward and narrated everything to the villagers. One by one, the spell over their eyes began to fade, and realization dawned upon them. Furious, some men and women rushed into the bush, picking up sticks to attack Lena, but Darren stopped them. He approached Lena and poured a special spiritual oil over her, forcing her to confess. To everyone's shock, Lena suddenly transformed into an old woman. The villagers gasped in horror and stepped back. "She's a witch," a woman in the crowd shouted. Suddenly, Lena let out a chilling laugh. "I'm not done with you people. I am not done with all of you. You will all pay for what you did to my family. You made me suffer at a young age, and now we'll make you all suffer. I will not stop until I wipe out this entire community," she screamed. It was then that the villagers learned the truth. Many years ago, Lena's father, Joran, had been falsely accused of having an affair with the queen, his own brother's wife. He had been framed by 4 of his closest friends, who didn't want him to become the next king. Joran was a wealthy and just man, the rightful heir after his brother, King Errol. He stood against corruption and always exposed evildoers in the village. Because of this, he was hated by the wicked men who conspired against him. After being accused of the forbidden act, Joran was stripped of his dignity and burned alive. Lena had watched helplessly as her innocent father screamed for help, but no one had come to his rescue. Even worse, her own mother, Zira, had laughed as she watched her husband perish in the flames. Joran had banished his wife, Zira, from their home after catching her in an affair with the palm wine tapper at the farm. As her father let out his final scream, Lena slipped away from the crowd and fled to a distant village. Since that day, she had been plotting her revenge. Before returning to her hometown, she had visited a powerful sorcerer who gave her the knowledge to make herself younger and stronger. To carry out her plans, the worms she mixed into her noodles had weakened the villagers while making her more powerful. She had also wanted to marry the king so she could kill him and take over the throne. The villagers stood frozen, speechless after hearing her story. Their anger faded, replaced by a deep sense of pity. Mara stepped forward. "There are other ways to seek justice. I know your father was wrongly accused and killed, but you went too far, she said gently. But Lena remained silent. When news reached the king, he was deeply troubled. He summoned Lena to the palace, where he begged for her forgiveness and asked her to undo the harm she had brought upon the village. At first, Lena resisted, but eventually, she softened. She forgave the villagers and lifted the curse she had placed on them. She was later given a place in the palace and honored with the title of second in command in the village. In the end, Lena found peace and forgiveness. She passed away 5 months later. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.